Yo, what's shaking, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Orange Bloods Texas Football Channel. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That's Anwar Richardson. Today's video brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the best place to play fantasy sports, including best ball, daily drafts, pick 'em, you name it. They've got it. Start drafting in minutes for a shot at big cash prizes. It's available on your iPhone, the Android, the web. Go check them out, Underdog Fantasy. I've been associated on War with a lot of fantasy places over the years because that's like one of the things that Sports Talk Radio will get support from fantasy places. Mm-hmm. Underdog is actually, I'm finally getting into like fantasy sports in this capacity to play for money. It's the thing that I've always been somewhat leery of because I never do anything. If I do something, I usually become consumed by it and do too much. And now I'm in. Underdog got me.
They got you.
Let Underdog get you and win some money by showing everybody how smart you are in the world of fantasy. Anwar, big news. Maybe not big news. News of the day on the 40 acres. And oh, by the way, like the video, subscribe to the channel, do all those things we ask you to do on a daily basis, including leaving comments in the comment section.
2 bits of news today, by the way. Small bits of news.
Well, one of them is that linebacker Jaden Hullaby has been moved to running back.
Yeah.
And from linebacker to running back, anytime there's a position change, it's notable for a lot of different reasons. The second piece of news is what?
Second piece of news, small news, but Malik Murphy was actually throwing on air today. And I think a coach said it was like the first day that he was actually throwing on routes on air. So, that's probably like the second piece of news worth discussing.
Welcome to Major College Football, Malik Murphy. This is maybe like unofficially when that whole thing, looking at the photos of Malik from practice, you realize just what a specimen that kid is.
Good.
In photos of him standing next to the other quarterbacks, I mean, he's the guy, he looks the best in a uniform. I have no idea if that will mean anything at all. It probably won't, but my goodness, Malik Murphy can fill out a uniform. If you haven't seen the photos, go over to orangebloods.com, go to our Twitter pages. We've got photos up today from practice with Malik Murphy. Anwar, the Hullaby news is interesting to me because linebacker is such an area of concern for this team, this coaching staff. Steve Sarkisian's been trying to fix it since last year when he brought like 14 transfers in. You know what I mean? Like linebacker, and that one of the able bodies that they have has been moved to running back, maybe the deepest position on the team. Curious move, and it's one that if I'm Jaden Hullaby, I got to be honest, if I try to put myself in his shoes, I don't know how I feel about that because it's not like he's dumb. It's not like he went over to running back today thinking, oh, I'm about to show out and get me a job. I mean,
yeah,
it's a place right now that is so competitive that we'll spend the rest of the year talking about guys not getting carries that we'd like to see get more carries when there just aren't enough carries to go around.
Yeah, if I'm Jaden Hullaby, I probably don't love it. I mean, you to your point, you got Bijan over there for potential Heisman, candidate at some point, or at least will be in the conversation going into the season. You got Roschon Johnson, who is firmly entrenched at the number 2 position. You got Keelan Robinson, who, Sarkisian talked about a lot, today, just, some of the change of pace stuff, but even Ketch last year, being able to use a guy like Keelan late in the season when injuries started around as a, conventional running back per se, as opposed to just a gadget guy or just a kind of a change of pace guy. So, you got your top 3 that is firmly entrenched. And then you still got Jonathan Brooks, you still got Blue, and then you throw in Hullaby. I mean, that's a tough thing. That's basically telling the man, all right, you're probably not going to play this year. And Sarkisian said, there's injuries that pile up in the running back room. And so something like that, makes sense to have more depth in the room. But it's interesting because you feel like linebacker would be the place that you really need the most bodies. He praised DeMarvion Overshawn for what he's been able to do this spring, praised Jalen Ford, said a lot of great things about him. Again, it'd be interesting to see how that goes, Ketch. I don't know if Hullaby played running back in high school. I'm going to assume so I'm assuming that's on his resume, as a potential. Today was his first day at it, Ketch. So it's not going to be, from Sarkisian's description, at least as of day one, it's not going to be some specialty kind of thing where this guy just comes in a specific package, H-back, something to that effect. It's going to be more like he is a pure running back. He's training to be a running back. So, we'll have to see how he fits in to that whole room.
I hate to be negative. I don't mean to be, but I also can't sit here and do a video and I don't, us, we don't not say the things that need to be said. And I feel like there is an elephant in the room here that's not specific to Hullaby, right? So let me just say this. There's just a general rule of thumb that exists that if the coaching staff comes to a player who's not cracking playing time at one position and they switch him over to the other side of the ball, to me, that's a red flag. If I'm that player you're at a major crossroads moment in your career. And I'll give you an example that's not Jaden Hullaby. If you go look at Sawyer Gorham-Welch, the offensive lineman who up until a couple of months ago was a defensive lineman, when I saw the news that he is moving from defense over to offense, I put myself in his shoes and I was thinking, wait a minute. You just signed 19 five-star offensive linemen. They're all about to come in. They're all about to be cracked. The cavalry is on the way, and I'm moving to a position where the cavalry is on the way. What does that mean for me, right? Like if Goyer Welch is in his locker room, if he's sitting in his dorm room, he's probably not thinking, oh, I'm defo keeping Kelvin Banks off the field. These guys know. So when I see that Hullaby's been moved from linebacker to running back, it is for me a crossroads moment in his career, and he's got to be thinking about this. He certainly is thinking about this. He'll be talking it over with his family, like, what does this mean for me? Because if he talks to his old man or his best friend or whomever, they know that Texas is 5 deep at running back. It's not like he's moved to a position where they need numbers. He's leaving a position where they do need numbers. It's one of those that, again, I'm saying the quiet part out loud. I think going out of this spring practices, Hullaby will probably have to ask himself some questions about what he wants out of his college football experience. And if he's happy at Texas and this is where he wants to be, then he can stay and get his degree, but he might not play a lot. I think this is the coaching staff ringing the bell in front of him that this is a bit of a crossroads because it's clearly not happening for him at linebacker, which is why they moved him to running back.
Yeah, Ketch. I mean, he's, at this point, if he's, 5th, 6th, you're not at that point, you're just hoping to, make a contribution on special teams, hoping for the, for the best as far as the special teams contribution. And then that's it. Like it is a way to, say it without saying it. There's sometimes you come out and direct and say, hey, maybe you should examine your options. And then sometimes you just do a couple little things that make them say it themselves, right? And sometimes you do things where you want the other person to come to that realization as opposed to you telling them, that's what the situation is. But, for hopefully, it does work out and we'll see what happens with the linebacker position since they're still trying to get guys that are in. But we still have Malik Murphy. We still got Malik. If we go down that road, he's got the positive, as well, which is Malik Ketch.
Well, real quick, I would say just to be to reference the other side of the coin. These types of moves do occasionally work. Baylor last year asks Abram Smith to go from linebacker to running back, and he emerges as a potential NFL player and a guy that was one of the best players in the Big 12 last year.
We saw it a couple of years ago with Brendan Schooler, Ketch. I mean, he came in here as a wide receiver and then got switched to, the DB safety position, and he ends up being a starter.
Yes.
Yes, if it
I'm trying to
worked.
find a more successful example. But the difference is when Abram Smith makes that move a year ago, they were able to sell him on the fact that the running back depth chart is wide open. So we're moving you from linebacker to running back because you did play running back in high school, but we think you can be a starter for us here. If I'm Jaden, I'm probably walking up to the coaches today and saying, how high do you think I can climb up the depth chart? Like, again, when Aranda moves Abram Smith a year ago, the conversation includes, we think you can start.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't quite feel the same way with this particular move. And it's a hill to climb to be taking reps away from Jaden Blue, right? Like, I mean, you're talking about a guy that was a big time prospect. He's the 5th running back on the roster right now. Other news today, Jonathan Brooks shows up.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it ain't like there's just a plethora of carries available to all of the running backs that they have. If I'm Hullaby, I'm at least asking the questions, and I'm sure the coaches are prepared to give him the answers. And like I said, it's got to be a huge eye opener for him. In the grand scheme of things, you're probably right. The Malik Murphy news today is a positive. And real quick on him, I'm dying to see what that kid can do. Dying, because the truth of the matter is Hudson Card and Quinn Ewers, for that matter, as it currently stands, they're not so developed and evolved and far ahead of him that there's light years of difference between the three of them as players. I mean, Malik's less proven than those two guys, but Quinn Ewers is completely unproven. And I mean, what would we call Hudson Card right now? Unproven, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
He ain't proven. So when you've got 2 unproven guys leading the way at the quarterback position, and then another unproven guy shows up and he has some special physical tools, I'm curious to see what, if not when, if before this spring is over, Malik Murphy can do something that makes our sources go, hey man, just so you know, Malik Murphy, that dude can play. Nothing full of hyperbole, nothing like he's going to take the job or anything like that. Just, is somebody before the spring is over going to pull us aside and go, hey man, that Joker Malik Murphy, he's for real. I'm curious now, with half the spring to go, if Malik can do enough to excite some people at very basic levels. Because I'll be honest, there's been less excitement about Ewers through half the practices. Today would have officially been practice number 7.
Correct.
Like, it's a work in progress. It's not like a damnation on anybody as much as it's an acknowledgement that Quinn Ewers has only gone through 6 practices, and there's only so much evolving and improvement you can make in 6 practices. And, to me, Malik's not trying to climb the Empire State's Building, just maybe like something half that size. He's tall. I mean, he can climb probably easier than most because he's so big. He just covers more ground when he climbs. I don't know. Let me ask this. Do you think, prediction time, do you think we'll get what I just wondered if we'll get before the end of the spring? Do you think before this spring is over, one of your sources will say, yo, Murphy, just so you know, like, I don't know when he gets on the field, I don't know when it happens, but that dude can ball.
Yeah, people have what's the word they look at when they look at it out of a lens that they want to see it through. And then I'm sure towards the end, Malik, if he gets a chance to, participate. Now, right now, it was on, everything's done on air. They didn't want to put him in any kind of situation where he could possibly get hit, right? Yeah. So you could just throw on air and that's about it. But even then, Sarkisian was talking about, but that was a pretty good ball, I mean, so, the thing is, Ketch, when you start talking about the first guy off the bus, to what you were talking about, the eye test, he has it. And then when you start looking at him in practice, and then again, small portion of practice that we're allowed to watch, you see the arm strength, you see it pop out, you see it, and you look at it and you say, that guy fills out a little bit more at the age. That looks like a senior quarterback. That looks like an NFL body. You know what I'm saying? Like, that looks like that guy. Like, and again, not any of every pro quarterback is known for being, muscular kind of thing. I
mean, Matt Stafford just won a Super Bowl, and he does not stand out from the pack in a uniform.
Nah.
He got an arm.
He got an arm, though. I mean, look, I've been in the locker room. I've seen, I was in Detroit. I've seen Matt Stafford. I mean, that guy, he don't look like he's doing a ton of, sit-ups. I mean, he's not trying to get a beach body, but he's fit enough.
He is working out right this second. He is not. I'm just betting.
He's still drunk. Yes. What are you kidding? Matt Stafford. I hope Matt Stafford has an IV drip in his arm and alcohol in the X and is just going at it all day and night. Like, that's what I hope for him.
But he's going to show up like Damon Wayans in The Great White Hype, when he just has that big old, he shows up at the first, at the fight with the beer belly. Like, Stafford's just going to show up with a big old growler and like, just, what's up, fellas? When do we get our Super Bowl rings? I don't know. The quarterback battle just intrigues me. There's a part of me that wants to be the president of the Malik Murphy fan club just because he's the underdog now. Mm-hmm. But he's an underdog with so much physical talent. Again, today's his first day to really have a chance to showcase it like a normal, healthy player. And, on to practice number 8 they go, on where the Texas football team is a work in progress. So much so that little things like Hullaby changing positions, Malik Murphy showing up for practice are very notable. We'll get to a point where it's not. But hey, man, what are your thoughts on this? Leave your comments in the comments section. Tell us, where's Hullaby fit in at the running back picture? What do you think about Malik Murphy now that he's back on the field? Any chance at all? Here's what I want to know in the spring game. In the comments from our commenters. Do you think, those of you watching this video, leave it in the comments, that we'll see something from Malik Murphy in the spring game that will make him a buzzword on Orange Bloods and in all of the YouTube videos? Will we get a single wow play with that big old body and that big old arm? Also, do us a solid, like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, get notifications. We appreciate you watching today on Tuesday. For myself and Anwar Richardson, 7 practices in the book, 7 more to go, and then a spring game, and then the rest of the offseason, and then the season. Until tomorrow, you guys take care. Later.